more miles.
I'm Captain Harley from How To Boating. I started How To Boating a year and about 5 months ago.
Guys, we've got this.
The name came from how to do everything boating, and we really cover every topic, whether it's, safety, docking, navigation aids, rules, all of that stuff. So it kind of stemmed from that. We have the 100-mile ultramarathon coming up, and it's actually tomorrow at this point. Tomorrow we start at 6:50, and what I've gotten is sponsors to sponsor my race, and with that, I gain donations. So donations for the Lucy Fernandez Foundation, and it all ties in because it's all in South Florida. It's the Keys 100 running from Key Largo to Key West. So that's one tie-in to the Fernandez family, and the next thing is it's also Boater Safety Week right after following. So it all ties in together, and I just wanted to run for a cause. I could just go out and run, but running and being able to use my reach and use my impact to have an impact on the world and the Fernandez Foundation, that was the goal.
The Lucy Fernandez Foundation has two initiatives. One is the Live Like Lucy Scholarship for girls to attend her beloved Our Lady of Lourdes Academy. And then the other one is Boater Watercraft Safety. Within that initiative, it is to create awareness, it is to educate, and it is advocacy. And part of what we did this legislative session through the foundation is advocacy to enact laws that are geared towards closing these gaps. So through the efforts of the foundation and our advocacy, we were able to get, Lucy's Law passed.
Lucy's Law, we looked at all of the gaps that existed, and we really wanted to align the penalties that existed on the water with those that are, expected on the road. There really should be no difference, if you're driving a vessel on land or on water. If you're acting recklessly, the penalty should be the same, and I think everyone should have that mentality. And so, it wasn't something that we did on our own. We worked with the state attorney's office. We worked with other foundations whose families had lost, loved ones due to boating accidents. There were a lot of stakeholders that came in and said, what could we do now to make an impact immediately and long term? And so that's kind of what inspired all of the little elements of Lucy's Law. It was a beautiful day on the water. Lucy was out for a weekend with some friends, and we were in the same area, but we weren't together for the weekend. And she called us and told us that she was heading out to Elliott Key and that we should go and meet her, that she hadn't seen us all weekend. She missed us. And my husband and I looked at each other and said, our 17-year-old daughter wants us to go out there and hang out with her. We absolutely got to go.
The fact that she's asking us to go, this is a big deal. So we said, absolutely, we'll go. So we ended up going out and meeting her. We were out there for a little over an hour. We got an opportunity to see her. She swam up to the boat that we were on. We were on an 18-foot boat. And I remember she got on the boat and she had asked me for sunscreen, and she had asked me for a rubber band for her hair. And I remember having an interaction with her, and then she jumped back in the water and she was with her friends, and she was in her happy place. She had a smile from ear to ear, and she was doing exactly what she loved to do.
And about an hour and a half later, we got a call that there had been an accident and that Lucy was on the boat that had the accident. So we decided to get back on. We were on the little boat we decided to jump back on the little boat and head out that way. We knew where they were coming from, so we just kind of took off, not really knowing exactly where they were. And by the time we got out there, she had already been taken on a police boat to the helicopter that was going to take her to the trauma unit. We spent the next several hours looking for her. Nobody could tell us what hospital she was at, and she came in with no ID, and so she was a Jane Doe. And we stopped at several hospitals that we had heard were receiving victims from the accident, and it wasn't until the last hospital that we went to that we were able to identify her.
We got to the last hospital, and my wife Melly went to the attendant and said, my daughter, and they said, we don't know. And they said, what was your daughter's name? And what is your daughter's name? And we said, Luciana Fernandez. And she said, oh, hold on a second. And then she came back to us and says, your daughter's here. And my daughter had a necklace with her initials. And that's how we were able to identify her.
So it was, as you can imagine, a very rough evening. But she gave us time to come to terms with what was happening, and she was good like that. She was always very thoughtful. And I always feel like even in that moment, she waited until we were there to process what was going to happen, and she did. She passed away at 6:30 in the morning, almost 12 hours to the minute when the accident happened, and it's been like that ever since.
I find a lot of peace even today. When I go to the boat or I go out on the water, I find a lot of peace. And I find a lot of connection to her. When I'm out on the water, I feel her. Out of most of the things I do, others find her when they go to the garden, when they go here. Me, it's when I'm out on the water. I just feel her, and because that was our place together. So do I hate it? Absolutely not. I love to be out there because it brings me a lot of memories of her.
I think accidents on the water don't just happen. I think there are a series of miscalculations and, thoughtless sort of choices that people make that when you compound them together, the outcomes are really severe. Maybe one thing that you do may not be deadly in the end, but when you do multiple things, for sure the risk increases. And so, in a lot of cases, it's failure, to keep a proper lookout. You're not paying attention. In our specific case, the speed is a huge, huge factor. The speed plus the fact that the boat had so many passengers in it is another huge factor. The operator wasn't on the right side of the channel and must have not been paying attention because it was a straight shot to it. So we don't believe that, in the moment there was either a second person being a lookout or him paying attention, right? And so those are all multiple things. Part of the things that we've been advocating for is education and awareness. And I think that boating is a beautiful pastime, and it was Lucy's passion. And we have come to this, sort of mission being lifelong boaters. So we're a family that loves the water. We're a family that has grown up on the water. She grew up on the water. But it takes a lot of time and a lot of practice to become experienced and to be proficient, I believe. And there's a very big difference between learning to go from point A to point B And that is all you do constantly, as opposed to actually really learning the navigational rules, actually learning how to properly operate a boat, because there's so many factors that go into it that people don't think about when they buy a boat, honestly. And education is something that has been, for whatever reason, either an afterthought or an assumption, right? There's an assumption that because you bought a boat and you're a certain age, that you all of a sudden are proficient and responsible. And none of those things are true, as we've seen. The statistics in the state of Florida specifically say that 80% of the accidents that are happening with people that have no boater education. And over 70% of those fall outside of the requirements for actual, a basic level boater ID card. And so, we believe that education and awareness is the only way to prevent these types of accidents, because most of them are. And if the operators actually had a real understanding of the risks associated with not having a proper lookout, not paying attention, overloading the boat, going at high speeds, all of those things, they would think differently when they're out on the water. And I think that's part of what we have been tasked, or we've taken it upon ourselves, to spread that message.
We got connected. Vanessa reached out I think it was on Instagram. She reached out, and then she wanted to set up a call to talk about the foundation, Lucy Fernandez Foundation, and I was on board from the start. I was like, yeah, put me in. Let me know how I could help, because I do. It's more than, I don't really care about the money side of it. I just know if I can make an impact, that will come. So I just want to, make an impact, and if I could do that with the Lucy Fernandez Foundation, that's great. And they're making a big impact, so it's a great partnership that we have.
Go on. You're out of here. 650 waves.
We are, what is this, 10 hours post-finish, so yeah. I kind of wanted to start off as fast as possible and get the first 10 miles done, so all I had to think about was, 90 miles left, which is, it's a lot, but the first 10 miles is just a training run, so I tried to get those done as quick as possible. And once we got done with that, only 90 miles to go. It started to get really, really hot during the day. There wasn't too much wind. There's more wind now than there was yesterday. That was the limiting factor. That was the pain point, because I had to ice down every couple miles. I had ice in Ziploc bags down the back of my shirt, in front of my shirt, and then in my sleeves too. So that, if I didn't have the ice, that wouldn't, I wouldn't have been able to make it. I had to stop every aid station every couple miles to just refill the ice, because it was insanely hot. And then after that, we went into just basically maintaining for the next 30 miles, just a relatively slow pace, going back and forth between walking and running, but mostly running for the next 20 miles until mile 30. And then after that, it was more walking, less running until mile 50. And at mile 50, it was insanely hot. We got to marathon, which is coming up on mile 50, and I wasn't able to run anymore, so I just started speed walking, and I guess that's the edge that I have over other people is, other people stop running and they're just like slowly walking, but I could speed walk at a pretty high pace with a decent amount of energy, and that's the main thing, is energy and being able to eat, to prepare, eat a ton leading up to the race, and then during the race you just got to maintain your energy, and for me, I maintained it really well. From mile 50 on to about mile 90, I tried to hang out at a 14:30 pace walking, and that's including stops. And then once we got to mile 90, then I started to speed up a little bit, because I mean, I used to work here in Key West. I used to live here, so it's just, for me, it's just all familiar streets, and I know what's coming around the next corner, whereas other people don't. So like, I know exactly what to expect, and that was an edge I have over a lot of people too, because I know what's coming. So it feels like a shorter run than it actually is. Overall, it was pretty good. I had energy throughout, and yeah, maintaining energy and keeping my feet from getting wet with all the ice that's running down into my feet, and it's super hot on the concrete. So I wanted to keep my feet from getting wet. I tried to like sprint the last 8 miles, but my legs were kind of giving up on me. And so I sprinted for a little bit and then walked, and sprinted for a little bit and then walked for the last 8 miles, which was good. It was good. And I passed, I don't know, about 10, 15 people at the very end within the 8 miles. It was, I had a mission. I never thought about stopping, because I knew what to expect. So, you know, I don't want to let anybody down, because all these people, you know, set aside time for me in this event. So I don't want to, you know, have everybody out here and then not finish. We got some pancake charcuterie and some wing charcuterie after the race. I was still dead tired, but yeah, my appetite's coming back. So I ate some wings, I ate some pancakes, and yeah, probably this afternoon, now that my appetite is back, I'll eat a lot more before I go to sleep. And I'll try to sleep for a long time tonight. You know, at the end of the day, it's not about me, it's about the goal for, you know, boating safety. And we tried to, you know, use this event just to raise money for the foundation. So we got, you know, a lot of sponsors, as you can see on the shirt. They're everywhere, right? So shout out to them. Thank you for all of them donating, sponsoring. All that money will go straight to Lucy Fernandez Foundation. The connection between, I guess, the race and the foundation and all the sponsors is also National Safe Boating Week. So it kind of ties all in together really nicely. So, you know, the goal for me at How To Boating is to make the waterways safer, make everything easier, you know, for everybody on the water. It's all about awareness for boating safety.